How was it?
It was great. It was great. Weather was perfect.
Where were you?
Orange County.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I did 3 days at Disneyland with my kids and my ma. So I grew up 15
Yeah.
minutes away from Disneyland, so
That's awesome.
it's kind of a return to an old friend.
Yeah, that's great.
We're
Kids-
live.
We're
so
live? Okay.
We're live. Want to get started?
Great. Well, good to be back after a couple days with my mom and brother in Disneyland and California. So, but I love this time of year and nice come back to a white blanket and snow everywhere. I know we've got a busy agenda with an update from Jackson Laboratory on a lot of the financial benefits to the city that they provide, and I met with Michael probably about a month ago now, and it was great to tour the facility, and we talked a lot about just the amazing growth of Jackson Labs and their commitment to Ellsworth and the great jobs they have there, and it was really, really interesting, and thought it might be helpful to have him speak to the Finance Committee meeting, just kind of give an update on where Jax is at. So we'll have that, as well as an update from Ashley on the departmental budgets. For myself, I only had kind of a quick update. We're through with the deputy city manager job posting and hiring. Really excited about that. I think it's going to be a big capacity building upgrade for the city. Return of Tammy's previous role. So that's, I think, going to really help relieve a lot of the pressures in the organization and start tackling a lot of the 300 items on the comprehensive plan checklist, the business attraction plan, infrastructure planning, revamping the 1, 5, 10-year capital plan, grants management consolidation, as well as helping to divide up the 18 managers that report up to the city manager's office right now, which is going to give us, I think, a lot better administrative capabilities in this very growing city. So we're now switching gears to the economic development director job posting, so I hope to have that out probably within the week. In the near term, just because we have gone without for a couple months now, I've recently spoke with somebody who's got a ton of municipal experience in the area, econ dev experience, Parks and Rec experience, that might work well as like a temporary contractor for us while we do the economic development posting. So it would be no higher than Jana's salary. Probably do a deliverables-based contract, really a lot of project management on some big items that I have, both the econ dev budget piece, which is moving forward, TIF planning. I know I had a lot of discussion at the previous city council forum. In the previous council year, one of the things we left off was moving forward in a Parks and Rec director and a Parks and Rec department. This person has a lot of experience there, so I may look to contract out with them for a couple months while we really give the time and space to the econ dev posting to make sure we have the right candidate for the role. So that's my update. With the non-hiring of the finance manager and the delay in the deputy city manager posting, we're about 6 months of savings on that salary plus the econ dev salary. So, budget-wise, we're still under on our salaries for this year. So there is some flexibility there still. I'd like to save as much money as possible, but I feel like this will help keep some balls rolling that need to keep rolling here while we really don't feel too much pressure to get that hire, make sure it's the right person for the next 3 to 6 years here in Ellsworth. So that is it. Steve?
Not to slow you down
Yeah.
on the momentum, because we certainly want to hear from our guest here. But I just have to ask a question. The deputy city manager position does not exist in the charter.
It doesn't
And
exist.
that means, I'm sorry?
Correct.
And
Okay.
that would mean, I believe, that you would have to get council approval for that position. Now, maybe I'm incorrect.
No,
Amy?
I do, because, yes, you would need to, because it is a deputized position.
It's not
and
there.
Even though it was
so-
issued before.
Oh,
It's not there.
can I see this real quick? Because I think there was something.
Sorry, my assumption was because it was a pre-existing position that we wouldn't need to add it to the charter.
And you might be right, but it's not in there. And so there might be a need for an emergency meeting to approve that position. I'm the least experienced here,
Okay.
but I don't
Did it
see
not get
it.
approved during the budget cycle?
Yeah, that it
It did
requires
not.
more than
It
that
requires
though,
more.
so. In the event the city elects to create, fill, and maintain a department head position or deputy department head position not listed herein, such positions will be deemed to be confirmed administrative employees. So,
Goes on to talk about council approval.
yeah, and I believe that it does need to, we need to confirm your appointment.
Okay, so I,
Okay.
We could always ratify it, though. That doesn't mean we have to have an emergency meeting, or we could just ratify it at the next meeting.
add it to the February agenda for ratification.
Yeah.
I don't want to slow down your momentum here.
No,
but,
it's-
It's
Yeah.
something that I believe needs attention.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it would be, we should just put it on the agenda for February, and we'll just ratify the appointment. And that way, that will be, that will satisfy the charter's requirements.
Okay, we'll do that.
And not slow down your process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Good
Yeah,
catch.
let's not.
Yeah, no, good
let's not
catch,
slow
Steve.
down anything, but
Yeah.
let's, if we're gonna live by the charter, we need to live by the charter.
Yeah, important. Sorry, I have to research more because it was a previous existing position. I know I talked to some folks that it didn't seem like we need to go that route, but.
I think I was appointed when I was the deputy city, or
Confirmed.
confirmed, yeah.
Confirmed, okay. Then we will add it to February as a ratification, and we'll go from there. That's it for me. But actually, Tammy, maybe you have some expertise here on a contract hire. Would that require any sort of city council?
The only contract hire we have is you.
Okay, so we've never done really contract hiring in this organization
No.
for like a
And I
consultant,
think that might be in the charter as well.
for a consultant-based type of activity.
Oh, that,
Oh, you're talking about the temporary position?
Yeah, just
Oh,
as
okay.
a, as
I'm sorry,
a,
yeah,
as a
that's what I was
consultant,
thinking too.
basically, yeah. It was as a 1099.
Yeah.
is, you think it'll be over $15,000?
No, nowhere near it.
Then you have the ability to
It's no
sign those
different than
contracts.
hiring an attorney, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's,
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be, yeah, it would be
I
a
don't know what this
basic
says,
consultant
but,
based.
you know, it wouldn't be any different if it's just me talking, that, you know, that's no different than hiring the custodian people, independent contractors, correct?
Right.
Yeah, it'd be an independent contractor, so.
Sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you were talking about the deputy city manager.
No,
That's
sorry,
what I was
the
like,
econ dev piece. So great, I'll move forward potentially on that. I've still, but I just did want to test drive it here for a bit before I make any official offers or move in that direction. But, and we'll add for ratification to the February agenda, the deputy city manager. So, great. And looking forward to having Sarah there for the meeting too, so. Awesome. And I'll send it over to Ashley.
It's my turn. So I just have an update on the budget submissions from department heads. I've met with 5 different departments this week, went over their budgets, high level on what they want to see changes, how they want their budgets to align for this coming fiscal year. So we're pushing along for the January 31st submission deadline from all department heads. So we're right on track.
Okay.
That's all I
You
have.
have people wait until the last minute?
No, not yet.
And,
Not yet.
I am generally targeting like a March 1st to have books and everything in order so that we can start. I think we might start with, Ashley and I still have to talk a lot more. We have a meeting on Monday about this. But once we get the department submissions in, before we get to the city manager recommendation piece, and we'll kind of bring all the department heads and do those as well. We will have the capability this time to have a full book at the department head submission level. Now, it'll change a lot in the final number, but I think it might be good to kind of just refresh. Oh, yeah, and the budget book will look similar to last year, almost identical. But, getting you all from the get-go, okay, here's where we're at the departmental level, and just to kind of set the landscape for what we're going to go ahead, and then we'll do the kind of city manager recommendation post that with all the departmental submissions and discussions with you all, but looking forward to that process this year. I think it'll be a little smoother than last year. I think generally the only big pieces, I know there was a lot of staffing changes last year, and been a lot of previous turnover. We're kind of settled there, I feel like, in the organization, with the exception of the Parks and Rec piece, which we talked about last cycle, and continues to be a pressure for this organization on coordinating all of those activities. And so really having a good discussion on what that would be, and also what that would be for financial impact currently and in the future. I think with the creation of a department that's not just an individual, that could be there could be a long-term implication for that, and what that person would do, and what that department would do, how would the activities be coordinated, the public value that they would add for the city, and is that worth the taxpayer investment based on the other mill rate pieces. The second piece, and I know Tammy, you and I have talked about that, is sort of the janitorial aspect of City Hall and the other facilities that we manage. In the past, there have been, I think, like actual janitors for City Hall, and we've kind of gone to a contract basis for a couple of times a week cleaning. There hasn't been a deep clean in this building in a very, very long time. I know I've been talking to our facilities director, Jim McLean. He's he's doing the Lord's work on keeping this place updated, and he's the handyman of all handymans. We get an enormous amount of value out of him, but we've been talking about how we can keep the fix-it stuff in the building going while also keeping the cleanliness and the cleaning of the building and the buildings appropriate. We've kind of hit a kind of a wall there, and there's some ideas on, should we go back to a structure where we have, a full-time janitorial staff here, reporting to the facilities directors? Do we keep our contracting staff the way it is? Do we upgrade the contracting staff so there's more cleaning that goes on? So those are really the only two places, Parks and Rec and the sort of facilities maintenance, in the staffing areas for consideration. But everything else, I think, should be pretty straightforward, and then we're going to hopefully, track that along with the update to the capital planning part of things. So we'll go from there. So that's it.
All right.
I'll hand it over to Michael.
All right,
You can.
come bearing gifts.
All right.
None that you can eat though, sorry. This is just paper.
Darn it. And if I could ask you just to speak at the podium, or you can sit there in that little chair.
I think I'll sit, that's all
Oh,
right.
okay. Yeah, absolutely.
You can bring the gifts up now, though.
Okay.
You got us all excited.
Start, two things, so I'll just start them going around the table, if that's all right.
Perfect, thank
All
you.
right, thanks.
Oh, they're chilly.
Yes.
And everything else.
Right?
So good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to meet and speak to you today. My name is Mike McKernan. I'm the Director of Government and Community Relations at the Jackson Laboratory. I'm a resident of Bar Harbor, and I work in the Bar Harbor campus, but Ellsworth is one of the major campuses of JAX. Certainly a prominent fixture in this town now, having been a project that got underway. I was just looking at the timeline in late 2012, and now we're at full operation over there, and have been since about late 2023 in terms of the physical build out of the space and its operation. So I had a great meeting with Charlie. He hadn't been to JAX, and so I thought it was high time to show him around. I also took the opportunity to make JAX's what is an annual voluntary contribution to the city of Ellsworth, which I was pleased to do on behalf of the institution and our team. And we thought it would be a great opportunity to come in and have me share some high-level information about where JAX is and what we're doing, and answer your questions and engage in some dialogue. So we're a global employer. We have a global workforce of about 3,000 currently. We're, of course, headquartered in Bar Harbor. That's the largest, our largest workforce is there with about 1,400 individuals. That's followed by Ellsworth, the Charles E. Hewitt Center. And then also in Maine, we have a small campus in Augusta. It's a Maine Cancer Genomics Initiative. It's based at Maine General Hospital, and there are about 10 employees in Augusta. And then we have a small suite of offices. I wouldn't say it's a campus yet. It's a single part of a floor of a building in Portland, above the Rue Institute, which is a campus affiliated with Northeastern University, but we're right above the Rue Institute, and we have 5 employees in Portland right now. Outside of the state of Maine, we have an institute called the Jackson Laboratory for Genomic Medicine. It's on the campus of the University of Connecticut Health Center, and that's in Farmington, Connecticut, employing about 480 people. We have a a mouse distribution and breeding facility in Sacramento, California, serving West Coast customers. And you may have read in the Bangor Daily News, we're expanding our preclinical services, and I can explain what that means, division to Gainesville, Florida, to a city outside of Gainesville, Florida. And we currently employ about 41 people there. And finally, in Japan, we have a workforce of about 270. So we're all over the place. Again, about 3,000 people. We think it's significant to note where our workforce lives. If you look at the total population of my colleagues who live in Maine, most of them live in Ellsworth. So 371 Jax employees, regardless of campus, live in the city of Ellsworth. That's followed by the town of Bar Harbor, with 260 in the town of Bar Harbor. And then if you look at the list, some of the other major towns, I shared two documents with you. One is the Jax 2024, thank you, Economic Impact Report, and that outlines in some high-level numbers, where our employees live, the contributions that we as an institution are making to the Maine economy. There's some interesting data in there reflecting on the vendors who do work for us. A lot of them are contracting firms, engineering firms, and they help us with capital projects, and those relationships go back many, many years. So we put significant emphasis on those local vendor relationships, and many of them are here in Hancock County. And I think that's articulated in that economic impact report. But we are very proud of the fact that Jax employees, we're a large employer. They come from, I think, 15 of 16 Maine counties. Some of them, you don't anticipate somebody from Aroostook County making a daily commute, to Ellsworth or Bar Harbor. So some of them are hybrid employees. They might work on campus 1 day a week, 2 days a week, but then they work remotely the rest of the week. But the vast majority of those colleagues live in Hancock County. We're the largest employer in Hancock County, also in Washington County. We have an increasing number of people coming from Waldo and Penobscot as well. So some other Ellsworth-specific items. We have, of course, a single property in in Ellsworth at 21 Kingsland Crossing. That comprises 17 acres and about 306 gross square feet of space. And so if you looked, so I think it's well known that building used to be a Lowe's Home Improvement Center. I think that the 306,000 gross square feet is more than double the size of the original Lowe's. So not only did Jax come in and rehabilitate the building, we expanded it dramatically. And Charlie saw this firsthand. If you go into Home Depot now, it's a very, very tall ceiling. Jax built a second floor inside of Lowe's, and so that's really one of the major ways that it was able to increase its operating square footage inside that existing shell. Jax is growing. We have open positions at this day for a variety of roles in Ellsworth, including facilities project manager, electrician, operations trainee. And what an operations trainee is, somebody who manages the material that are used in breeding mice. So bedding, food, water. These are the people who help to organize these materials and deliver them to the vivarium. A vivarium is just a fancy name for a room where mice are bred and cared for. Maintenance mechanic, environmental health and safety specialist, and veterinary technologist. So some of those are entry-level roles, some of those are skilled roles requiring some advanced training, but we have a variety of things to offer incoming workers here in Ellsworth. I'll pause there and just take a breath and see if you have any questions about Jax operations before I transition to talk about a couple other things, more financial in nature.
I have a few questions.
Yeah.
One, the Ellsworth facility, is there any potential of expansion on that property in the future? And then I guess the second question I have is, my guess is part of, you have open positions, getting people to come to do the work. I know housing is a big issue.
Right.
So could you just touch on, the issue of housing?
Sure,
and employment
sure.
there?
Yep, I can talk about those two things. So it's my understanding, so the subject matter expert on the issue of to the extent that Jax can expand on that, that's not me, but it's my understanding is that building, and if we look at lot coverage and setbacks and other restrictions, I don't think Jax has a lot of ability to expand on that property.
Pretty maxed out.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the specific numbers of that I would get from a colleague, but I think it's limited. So that's the answer to number one. The second item is housing. And we know from speaking to employees who have been offered positions that they sometimes turn them down because they can't find the right housing. Sometimes they can't find any housing. And so that's the number one issue that we have as an employer in terms of recruitment and retention of our staff. I don't have updated numbers on that right now, but we know that as of a couple of years ago, it was a factor in that caused us to lose about 20% of offers that I would describe as either being offered, an offer in hand, or a candidate's in a final stages of an interview process, meaning an offer is likely to be imminent. So about 1 in 5 of those individuals was not able to accept an offer or would not, even if one was put out there, because they couldn't find housing in the area. So that led, that was part of the rationale, or part of the reality that led Jax to make a major investment in workforce housing. In Bar Harbor, 2 apartments were constructed, and it also means we're very excited to see when other housing projects get underway, get approved, because, given the large number of our colleagues who live in this area, that housing is really critical to our operation.
I guess a follow-up to that, are you aware, would Jax consider further housing, for employees?
Right.
In Ellsworth or off the island, so to speak?
Yeah, I would say that everything's on the table. In terms of institutional investment, we have an annual capital projects budget, and I would say our capital focus right now is in developing our research space. So, maybe the pendulum will swing back more towards housing. We wrapped up a series of significant projects, of which the housing was one. Then we moved and did quite a lot of work in childcare. We built a childcare facility, and we've done a lot of work on employee safety, particularly with pedestrian access to campus. So right now, the focus is on building out research capacity.
I'm sure Jax wouldn't be upset if other people built more housing.
No.
in the area.
That would not be a bad thing.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, let me say a few, okay, go
I have
ahead.
one question. You may not know the answer to this, but I think it's important that, and it could be a wild number here, but when Jax bought the Lowe's property,
Right.
and don't hold me to this, I think it was an acquisition of 1.3 million or somewhere in that ballpark. And all of the renovations that you have done to that property
Right.
has benefited Ellsworth in a big way. And when I say that, whether it's a contractor needing lodging or meals or what have you, can you give us publicly a number of what you have spent on that building or what the value of that campus is today? Because it's bigger than any of us, I think, understand.
Right. Yes, I can tell you that Jack's investment in that project exceeds $250 million.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
significant. we also have to be mindful that, and you know, certainly express gratitude for Maine voters who contributed through state-approved research and development bonds, some part of that investment. So I think Jack's benefited from state bonds to the tune of over $13.5 million, but the rest of that investment was a Jack's institutional investment.
But it landed in Ellsworth, America.
It did, yes. it
Regardless
did.
of where
It
the
did.
money comes from.
It did.
I'm glad I asked that question, because I would have guessed 80 million, and to hear
Right.
250, that's powerful.
Right, yeah.
Very powerful.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you.
You know, sure. It's an impressive facility. It's difficult to tour. Charlie, you know, didn't get to see all the inner workings of it because in order for Jack's to create and maintain the outstanding quality of the Jack's mouse, and I mentioned that environmental health and safety specialist is one of the roles we're hiring for. Any of those environmental factors that come into a building on our clothing, you know, so factors like sterility are extremely high. And so anyway, that's a long way for me to say it's difficult for us to do tours. But we're very happy to, you know, have the city council and others come in to have a look in the right way.
Michael and I were talking about kind of the value of the mouse. And
Right.
like a per pound basis is probably the most valuable, you know, export that Maine has. Though I was thinking actually at Disneyland, it's probably the second most valuable mouse behind the Disney mouse.
It could be. That's interesting observation.
Also, that I was thinking that Ellsworth may have the two like highest price per pound exports in the state, both the mice, but also the glass eels, which are another extraordinarily, which is kind of a unique quirk of Ellsworth to have these two very small but very valuable
That's a new slogan.
exports.
Ellsworth, small but mighty,
Right.
economically.
A few more things. Jack's does make an annual a voluntary contribution to the city of Ellsworth. In 2024, that was $57,963, and we anticipate making a similar contribution, a higher one, in 2025, approaching 60, but we're sitting right now at $59,700. So anticipate making that this calendar year.
Excuse me, is there a way that you calculate that to determine that number?
Yes, there's a calculation, and the way that we calculated it initially, and I don't know the year when Jack's made its first contribution to the city of Ellsworth, but we had been making one to the town of Bar Harbor for many years prior to that. And so what we did was we made a proportional determination based on a series of factors that we used in determining the Bar Harbor contribution. And those factors really boil down to the size of the physical facility in the town and the number of employees.
Okay.
And there are other factors as well. But basically the footprint of Jack's in the city of Ellsworth is how we made that determination. Yeah.
And Steve, I know the previous question you'd have on like WS and Myrick Street and those types of developments. I know the the previous Lowe's was about $212,000 a year in taxes. So there is a bit of a delta there, but I think it's really also important to keep in mind the $250 million and all the work and local jobs and construction that's there, all the people going there servicing our local businesses, and also the importance of industry mix, which I think is really critical. I mean, you go to that facility, you see the type of good blue collar, good benefits, retirement packages. We have a lot of retail. We have a Home Depot. It was, sure, the Lowe's was kicking in a little more taxes than the voluntary contribution, but gosh, what a great company. They don't have to do that at all. So that's there. I know, Steve, you and I have talked about how do we send some information out to the nonprofits here, which we have a lot in Ellsworth as a hub for this whole region, to sort of.
And just Since you're making this about me, I think I'll just throw in that, you know, this feeds into some of the conversations that I have had with you, that, you know, Jax has decided to give us $60,000 a year, and I'm using a round number, okay, that has to give us nothing. That's the leading point for other nonprofits to consider contributing to the cost of overhead to lower everybody's tax burden in the city. And you don't have to be here, you don't have to give us anything, but you have decided to give us, your company, $60,000. At $60,000, we don't have to ask Mr. and Mrs. Ellsworth for. That's huge. We don't have to ask Mr. and Mrs. Ellsworth for $60,000. And if we could get more nonprofits to be like Jax, Ellsworth would certainly benefit from all of that. And aside from the 60, you and I had a conversation before this meeting. The benefits that Jackson, the jobs that Jax provides, the retirement is second to none. And to your point, the blue collar people have a great opportunity. What's the average age of your employee in Ellsworth?
It's on this thing, isn't it?
It's at 31.
31.
Okay,
Yeah,
so there.
Thank you.
At 31
I would have
years
said
old.
36, but.
At 31 years old, to take a job at Jackson Labs to get that huge retirement, if they would participate, it's amazing. It's a model.
One of the benefits that, you know, many of my colleagues have enjoyed, and including myself, is that it's an organization that you can join and stay with, and you know, it rewards skill development, it rewards creativity, it rewards engagement, and also provides opportunities for people to find different pathways within their career and, you know, grow and expand. So I think it's a good place for retention, as well as a place to recruit new folks into a community. Both of those areas are strengths, in my opinion.
I'm glad you've gone public with the amount, because as a counselor, I've asked this question many times. And the answer I've always gotten is, oh, a little tiny bit, it doesn't amount. I've never got a number. I've been here, this is my 4th year, and I've never got this number. And you coming forth and telling this number is huge for our community to hear. Thank you.
Absolutely, happy to share. A few more things that I wanted to point just before I run out of time. It's hard to place an exact value in the Jax Community Contributions Program. We have a program of volunteer time off. There's that, Jax Gives Back, yes, exactly, it's outlined in that, thank you, Counselor. Volunteer time off means that our employees are working in Ellsworth area nonprofits. One person I want to not hire, she already works, but to highlight is Connie Lee Gordon. Connie Lee Gordon lives in Ellsworth, looks like you might know Connie, okay. Passion is the father-daughter dance at the Ellsworth Lioness and Lions Club. One of the things that goes unheralded with Connie is she's helped rehome thousands of dollars of gently used Jax office equipment to other area nonprofits. So tables, chairs, you know, partitions. Connie works in facilities, and so she has line of sight whenever Jax is rehabbing a building or an office, and the office equipment is generally pretty good condition and does not need to be discarded, thrown away. And so she has found people and organizations that need it. And she does this on her time and to really tremendous benefit. In addition to the voluntary contribution to the city of Ellsworth, I do want to highlight we have a community contributions program where other nonprofits can can propose small projects to Jax, and then we will help to make a small financial contribution to help those projects get underway. These are not overhead. We don't support, operating costs of other organizations. We don't support capital projects of other organizations. But if a nonprofit comes forward and says, we have a very specific thing that we want to do, we want to pilot something, then we have a mechanism to support those sorts of small requests. So I'll give you a few examples. Community Compass is an organization, I believe, in Blue Hill, and they help with food insecurity in that area. We supported them with about $750 last year. And it ranges from that to the Ellsworth Fire Department, to local schools, the Ellsworth Rotary, the Woodlawn, Down East Community Partners, Loaves and Fishes, so just a variety of nonprofits who have benefited from the Community Contributions Program over the last several years. And then finally, partnerships is really a major aspect of how we engage with the city of Ellsworth and its citizens. So I'd like to highlight two major partnerships. One is, of course, with the Down East Family YMCA. They work with us and operate our Island of Imagination child care facility in Bar Harbor. And they, of course, also operate a child care center on Beachland Road. And that's a building where Jax does cover the lease on that facility. And through the agreement with Down East Family Y, they operate their center in that building. And then finally, Hancock County Technical Center. So many members of our staff are part of their advisory team for their biotech program. We helped in an advisory capacity get that program off the ground. I think it's been extremely successful. And we're delighted to see the graduates of that program, continue on their path for either a 4-year degree or to transition into a 2-year degree. Most of them, I think, go into 4-year degrees in biotechnology or life sciences. And that kind of skilled, development is really critical for the mission of Jackson, really life sciences in Maine in general. So we're very pleased to see that happening at HCTC.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, my friend's daughter does the biotech program at HTCC. She's planning to go to school for biochem or biotech stuff, so.
That's great.
Yeah, that's great.
Good.
Awesome. I had a question about the kind of employee base. Do you have an idea of, you're talking about losing a lot because they can't come for housing, but how many are kind of local to the area that may have, that saw this as an opportunity to sort of, a new financial job in this area that they wouldn't have had before? Is it, 50-50, or is it hard to kind of tell?
I guess I restate your question.
So like
please.
the Jackson Lab employee, is it, are you mostly recruiting locally in the area for, for a lot of the new folks you're trying to get?
Oh, okay.
Data, what category do those folks fall into? When you're trying to fill the Ellsworth Jax facility, is it local to the area, or is it a mix? What is that mix like?
Well, I think that we recruit both. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have the answer. I can say that in raw numbers, we have, and I think I mentioned we have 371 employees who live in the city of Ellsworth. In terms of recruitment, what is the blend of people who are brand new to Maine or brand new to Hancock County versus those who are already here? It might be, coming into Jackson for the first time. I don't have that data
We have this
at the moment.
number, I don't know, new hires, 352.
Right.
Out of state, we're 75.
Okay, so the majority are coming from within state,
Within
but
state.
at a more granular level, I'm not sure. I think it's, if I look at the new hire data, I have noticed a few trends informally over the last couple of years. So for example, I have seen increased interest from the towns between Ellsworth and Belfast. We've seen increased interest in Bangor and Brewer. We've seen increased hires from Bangor and Brewer. Now, part of that is potentially the result of workforce transportation options, busing, that is available, and at very, very, very low cost to those employees. So, that's intentional to keep employees keep people off the road and to ease the ability of people to come to work.
So to bus from Bangor, these areas to Jax.
Yes, so we operate 5 in, again, this is another partnership, which I should have listed, but Down East Transportation. They're, we have a partnership with Down East Transportation that essentially purchases seats on existing Down East Transportation routes. So there's a daily route from Bangor, Brewer, Millbridge, Franklin, and Ellsworth to Bar Harbor.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but Charlie, I'm not sure if I answered your question.
No, that's exactly it. I'm just, we've do a fair amount of hiring here, and there's always this kind of mix of people who are really excited of Ellsworth, they're from nationwide, or, that are kind of coming here and be like, wow,
Yep.
close to Acadia.
Oh, it's a draw.
Yeah, but there's this, there's a city kind of feel to it, but then there's this also, like, do they really know what they're getting into with the winters? And will housing be available? Will we be, can you kind of sustain that initial interest that's there? And then on the flip side of that, then there's also this great local talent pool of folks that may not have the exact analogous set you're looking for in that exact position, but they love this area. They're going to be here. There's kind of a flight plan. There's just such great people in this area already. And I know Jackson's maybe the city hall is kind of similar. There's you can provide good flight plans for people. Hey, here's an entry-level role, but you do awesome. Let's keep you going. I know a lot of the people in our management corps may have started off in more of an entry-level job here, and we're able to sort of track them into better and better roles. So
That is part of Jax's strategy, is to provide entry-level opportunities, robust internal training, internal personnel development, professional development, to retain and grow our own workforce.
yeah, and there's I think a marketing aspect to this too. I didn't know quite how robust that transportation piece was for you all.
Mm-hmm.
Our new deputy city manager is going to be soon to be former executive director of the Bangor Area Comprehensive Transit Systems. I'm sure she had some roles to play in those pieces. But I was on a meeting yesterday with another very large organization, probably a little bit even larger than Jax locally here, and just the issues they're having with transportation and trying to get people here and housing. That's it. Transportation, housing.
Childcare.
And and
That's
child
number
care
3.
is- right, transportation, housing, childcare, and those are the big 3.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for
Yeah,
coming
thank
in.
you.
This is really,
Happy to be here. Thanks for your
Great
interest.
information.
and I think it'd be great if we could maybe at some point check out what we're allowed to see at the facility.
Absolutely. There was a time when at the very end of in the last phase of construction, a couple of the rooms were basically done but not commissioned. Where there was a very, very narrow window of opportunity, but we can show you what we can.
Yeah, that's interesting. Thanks.
Great.
Sure, it's changed a lot since I was there. I was there before, during construction, the first phase, and
Right.
seeing all of it was pretty neat, so.
Just-
And that was only, I think, half the building at the time.
Oh,
so.
right.
It was cool to talk to Mickey Sumter, our former econ dev director recently, and just about, when that process got imagined. And just, gosh, what a huge gain for Ellsworth at the time, which could have been a big loss, just that Lowe's factory, that Lowe's facility. And, it really feels like this was the exact right fit for Ellsworth and expansion here. So super excited about
Thanks
this.
for the invitation.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
There's a lot of cities that would like to be the recipient of this information. Thank you.
All right. Do you have something do you want to talk about? No, you just came to hang out here this morning with us? Excellent. Anything else? Counselors? Nothing?
No?
All right.
Sue, do you have any?
You wanna stay
Meeting
with-
adjourned.